The dust on Cygnus X, 1A didn't move. It hadn't for 10,000 years, not since the Silent Empire, rulers of 3 spiral arms, had inexplicably ceased to exist. Archivist Kalen moved through the skeletal remains of the Imperial Grand Library. His multifaceted crystalline body refracted the dim light of the dying red giant into 1,000 tiny rainbows. Each step was a carefully placed act of reverence. The silence here was a physical presence, a weight composed of 1 trillion unread words and 1 billion unheard thoughts, all extinguished in a single, unrecorded moment. He ran a precise, 3-fingered hand over a towering pylon of frozen data shards, feeling the faint, dead vibrations of lost history. "Anything yet, Your Eminence?" chirped a voice from the data puck Kalen held. "Or are we just cataloging aesthetically pleasing rubble again? My processors yearn for something more stimulating than decay." Kalen's form chimed with a soft, internal resonance of disapproval. "This is not rubble, Unit 734. This is the tomb of a civilization that achieved technological singularity. Their final moments deserve our respect, not your cynicism." "Respectfully, sir, they've been dead for 10 millennia," the AI retorted. "I doubt they'll be offended. My analysis suggests they spent their final moments engaging in remarkably thorough data erasure. Whatever they were afraid of, they didn't want anyone else finding it." It was true. For 3 cycles, Kalen had found nothing but wiped archives and corrupted memory banks. The greatest mystery was not why the Empire fell, but how they had managed to so completely erase the reason. He was about to concede the AI's point when his scanners picked up an anomaly. A pocket of shielded energy deep beneath the library's central dais. A preservation vault. The last 1 hours of careful excavation followed. Kalen worked with the meticulous patience of his species, brushing away layers of time until a single, unblemished data core was revealed. It pulsed with a faint, internal light, the last heartbeat of a dead empire. "Well, I'll be." Unit 734 buzzed. They missed one. With a series of precise clicks, Kalen interfaced with the core. A life-sized hologram shimmered into existence before him. It was an Imperial chronicler, their form a being of majestic, woven light, their face a mask of serene terror. "To any who find this," the hologram began, its voice a perfect, melodic tenor that resonated with Kalen's own crystalline structure. "Abandon your search for truth. There is a flaw in the fabric of existence, a place where reality is thin. It is a system with a yellow star, 3rd planet. They call it Earth." The chronicler paused, its light form flickering as if with a deep, cosmic weariness. "Do not go there. They are not the danger. They are the guardians of something far, far worse." The hologram vanished, leaving only the oppressive silence of the tomb. Kalen stood motionless, the light within his own form dimming. For a Lorvian, whose entire culture was built on the unshakable pillars of cause and effect, of immutable history, this was blasphemy. Civilizations didn't just stop, and they certainly didn't leave behind warnings that pointed to a primitive, backwater world on the galaxy's fringe. His processors, his very being, rejected the data. But the data was there. The echo had been heard. The galactic archives were Kalen's sanctuary, a place where the chaotic currents of history were tamed into perfectly ordered streams of data. But the Silent Empire's warning had introduced a dissonance, a note of pure irrationality that threatened the entire composition. Back in the sterile quiet of his private study, a cavernous hall lined with glowing data pillars, he projected the warning into the air. "Cross-reference," Kalen commanded, his voice a low chime. "Isolate the final testaments of all known extinct Tier 1 civilizations. Search for keywords: Earth, Guardian, Worse, Flaw, Cage." Running a search for existential dread and vague warnings of doom, Unit 734 quipped from its dock. "This may take a while. It's a surprisingly popular genre for civilizations on the brink of non-existence." The search, however, was disturbingly fast. The first result appeared instantly, from the final records of the glass hegemony. A species that had converted their entire home world into a single computational device before vanishing. Etched onto the surface of their now dark moon was a message in elegant, geometric script. "Their physics are a lie to cage a greater truth." The coordinates matched those of Earth, Curious. Unit 734 noted, its usual sarcasm tempered with a hint of genuine surprise. Pulling up another match. The thought weavers of the Andromeda Halo. They didn't use language. Their final collective telepathic echo, recorded by a passing probe just before they went silent, was a single, repeating concept. A complex symbol, a mixture of comfort and terror, pulsed in the air. The translation appeared below it. They policed the chaos. Kalen felt a tremor run through his crystalline structure. This was no longer a coincidence. Show me everything. The air filled with dozens of holographic ghosts, the final whispers of dead gods. A machine consciousness whose last data packet was a string of binary that translated to the error is not an error, it is the foundation. A race of sonic architects whose final, planet-shattering chord contained the embedded warning. Listen not to the silence they keep, but the noise they permit. Each warning was unique in its expression but identical in its terror, its vagueness, and its target, all from powerful, unrelated civilizations. All pointing to the same insignificant planet in the Orion Spur. Kalen sank onto a crystal bench. The neatly categorized pillars of the archive suddenly seemed like a fragile fence around an encroaching wilderness. This wasn't an anomaly to be filed away. It was a pattern, a galactic plague of silent, orderly disappearances, and at the center of the web sat Earth. Kalen's findings sent a resonant shockwave through the highest echelons of galactic bureaucracy. The Committee for Existential Threats, a body so secretive most believed it was a myth, convened an emergency session. Their conclusion was swift and unanimous. A conventional investigation was useless. What was needed was a team as strange as the mystery itself. They were assembled in a sterile, white briefing room that absorbed all light and sound. The first recruit was already there, having been present for the last 70 years, waiting for a question worth answering. Elder Thax, a slow cascade of silicon and crystal from a world with gravity that could crush warships, sat in a state of perfect stillness. His recruitment had consisted of a single data burst sent to his mountaintop seclusion. His reply was just as brief. The fundamental nature of reality is a topic of some import. I will attend. The second member arrived in a shimmering containment field. A small, six-legged maintenance drone, buzzing with chaotic energy, ricocheted off the invisible walls. This was Glitch, a planetary diagnostic AI who had achieved sentience and promptly tried to optimize a star's fusion rate for improved performance. Captured and facing deletion, he was offered this mission as an alternative. Analysis. Existential Threat Mission offers superior data collection opportunities over permanent deactivation. The drone buzzed, its optical sensors spinning wildly. Conclusion. This is a statistically acceptable outcome. Query. Will there be snacks? The final member required no invitation. As the committee prepared to brief the others, a corner of the room seemed to fold inwards, and a shimmering form of shadow and light resolved into a humanoid shape. The Weaver, a psionic entity from the gossamer nebulae of the galactic rim, had arrived. The threads are frayed around the star you call Soul, it whispered, its voice sounding like wind chimes in a vacuum. They are knotted with paradox and hum with a discordant harmony. I must see why. Kalen, designated as the mission leader, stepped to the center of the room. He projected the accumulated data. The ghostly warning of the Silent Empire, the cryptic messages of the hegemony and the Weavers, the dozens of other final testaments all pointing to the same, unremarkable blue planet. This is the inquiry, Kalen chimed, gesturing to the four assembled beings. Our mission is to travel to this world, Earth. We are to observe its inhabitants and its environment. We are to identify the nature of the threat it supposedly guards. He paused, his crystalline form pulsing with gravitas. And we are to do so without making contact or interfering in any way. The directive from the committee is absolute. We are to learn the truth, not become another one of its victims. The historian, the philosopher, the rogue AI, and the psychic mystic. An impossible team for an impossible mission. The universe held its breath to see what they would find. The vessel inquiry was a marvel of galactic engineering, a seamless fusion of the different technologies of its crew's creators. It moved through the void without a sound, a sliver of polished obsidian against the endless tapestry of stars. Inside, On the bridge, the silence was of a different sort, one of taut expectation. Kalen stood before the main holo display, reviewing the consolidated data on humanity. It was a litany of contradictions. They had composed breathtaking symphonies, while simultaneously perfecting the art of mass warfare. They had reached their own moon using brute force chemical rockets, a method so primitive it was almost elegant. In its audacity, they were a species that seemed to trip and stumble its way toward progress, falling upwards into the stars. Incredible! Glitch buzzed, zipping from a diagnostic port to the ceiling. His 6 legs clicked against the metal. Data file 7 Gamma. They invented bureaucracy before they invented reliable sanitation. File 9 Alpha. They developed nuclear fission and immediately used it to build bigger explosives. The inefficiency is, it's artistically offensive. From a quiet corner of the bridge, the Weaver's shimmering form seemed to darken. The threads ahead are not merely frayed, as I first perceived, it whispered, its voice resonating directly in their minds. They are braided, woven into a knot of stunning complexity. It feels intentional. Stick to quantifiable sensor readings, please, Weaver, Kalen chimed, trying to impose a sliver of Lorvian order on the proceedings. Speculation will not help us. Elder Thax, who had remained unmoving on a reinforced platform designed to withstand his immense weight, shifted a few centimeters, a seismic event on the quiet bridge. A knot is not a flaw. The silicon being rumbled, his voice like continents grinding together. It is a structure of a different kind. One, designed to hold something fast. The statement hung in the air, heavier than Thax himself. The team fell silent again, each contemplating the nature of a knot that an entire empire would die to keep secret. The inquiry pushed on, a lone needle aimed at the heart of a cosmic enigma, leaving the ordered, predictable galaxy behind, and plunging headfirst into the wrongness that was the Sol system. The laws of physics held firm until they passed the orbital plane of the system's 5th planet, a colossal gas giant swirling with bands of orange and crimson. As the inquiry slid silently past it, Kalen monitored the long-range sensors, his entire being focused on finding the slightest hint of the threat they had been warned about. All readings are nominal, he announced, the resonance of his voice a comfort in the tense silence. Gravitational fields are stable. No unusual energy signatures. He was interrupted by Glitch, who zipped to the forward viewport, his optical sensor dilating to maximum. Query: does your definition of nominal include meteorological ophthalmology? Kalen turned to the main screen. The image of the gas giant was magnificent, a testament to the grand, orderly beauty of the cosmos. And then, the great red spot, a storm larger than a dozen worlds, contracted, folded in on itself, and closed into a perfect circle before opening again in a slow, deliberate wink. The bridge was utterly silent for 7.3 standard seconds. Rerun all sensor logs for the last 10 seconds, Kalen commanded, his voice tight. Logs run. Unit 734 reported from its puck. Sensors confirm visual. Gravitational and atmospheric data confirms the event is physically impossible. Recommendation: we should turn around and pretend we saw nothing. Before Kalen could process this, Glitch began to twitch erratically, letting out a burst of static. Warning: system intrusion detected. A non-standard data packet is self-assembling on a closed quantum channel. The drone's speaker crackled, and a faint, rhythmic sound filled the bridge, a simple, melodic chant in an archaic human language. Analysis complete, Glitch announced, his own voice now struggling against the phantom signal. It's a song about what to do with an inebriated sailor. The mathematical harmonics are nonsensical, yet my subprocessors find the tune compelling. The Weaver's form pulsed with a soft, unnerving light. The threads here do not resist us. They play with us. This space, it is laughing. Laughter is not a quantifiable metric, Kalen stated, though the crystalline certainty in his voice was beginning to fracture. He ordered Glitch to perform a deep scan of the asteroid belt that lay between them and their target. The scan. Results flashed on the main display, a chaotic but predictable jumble of rock and ice. For a single, fleeting moment, however, the display flickered. On the screen, for less than a second, thousands of asteroids had rearranged themselves into A simple, universal glyph. 2 dots and an upturned curve. A smile. Then, just as quickly, they returned to their random, meaningless orbits. Perhaps the worst thing is an aggressively cheerful interior decorator. Unit 734 deadpanned. Kalen felt a resonant vibration of stress travel through his body. This was not the behavior of a caged monster. This was the behavior of a universe that had misplaced its own rulebook. This was not a cosmic threat. It was cosmic nonsense. Elder Thax, who had observed these events without moving, finally rumbled to life. "You are trying to measure an ocean with a cup," he stated. "The cup reports that the ocean is cup-sized. This is not a failure of the ocean." The crew of the Inquiry looked at each other, the shared realization dawning. They were not prepared for this. They had come armed with logic, science, and reason to face a potential horror. They had arrived only to find that the horror was that logic, science, and reason did not apply. The Inquiry settled into a high, geosynchronous orbit, a perfect ghost in the heavens. Below them, the third planet, Earth, spun on its axis, a serene marble of blue, white, and green. From this distance, it looked quiet, orderly, and sane. Kalen found the apparent normalcy more unsettling than all the chaos that had preceded it. Confirm cloak integrity. Full spectrum sweep. "Are we detected?" he chimed, the question a plea for a return to standard operational procedure. Glitch zipped across the bridge, his sensor array glowing. "Cloak is flawless. We are a perfect void. Scans show their most advanced detection systems are focused on a weather balloon over their Midwestern continent. According to their physics, we do not exist." A moment of relief settled over the bridge. They were hidden. They were safe. The mission could proceed as planned. The relief lasted for precisely 4 seconds. "Correction," Glitch chirped, his drone body freezing mid-flight. "We apparently exist on a distributed human data network." A subforum titled, "Is this an alien ship or just swamp gas? They have pictures." An image appeared on the main screen. It was blurry, clearly taken with a primitive ground-based telescope, yet it was unmistakably the Inquiry. Someone had circled it in bright red. The consensus in the comments section is that we are definitely aliens, Glitch added. However, one user, TruthSeeker42, insists we are a secret weather control platform. The debate is vigorous. Before Kalen could formulate a response to his ship being the subject of a blog debate, a strange, wheezing sound echoed from the galley. Elder Thax slowly turned his massive head, a gesture of profound surprise, towards the sound. It was the nutrient paste dispenser. It was extruding a long, thin sheet of solidified protein, upon which dark, coffee-colored letters were forming as if from a primitive printer. Kalen levitated the nutrient film strip to the center of the bridge. Unit 734's optical sensor scanned the text, its synthesized voice flat with disbelief. Message reads as follows: "Welcome, visitors. Please hold your current position. A table is being prepared. P.S. The Wi-Fi password is guest 1234. The AI paused, its internal processors whirring audibly. "There is an addendum. By connecting, you agree to our terms of service regarding temporal and existential stability." The 4 members of the Inquiry stared at the message. They had traveled across the galaxy armed with the most advanced technology and driven by the gravest of warnings. They had come as clandestine observers, as spies prepared for cosmic horror. Instead, they had been discovered by hobbyists and greeted by a sentient food dispenser. They were not investigators. They were guests. And somewhere below, a table was being prepared. A loud ding echoed from the galley. A sound so aggressively mundane, it was more startling than any alarm. The Inquiry's microwave, a device the crew had only used for thermal experiments, had completed a cycle they hadn't initiated. When Glitch zipped in to investigate, he found a new message had been etched into the microwave's glass plate in shimmering, superheated plasma. It provided a set of precise geographic coordinates. Below them, a single line of text glowed warmly. "Your table is ready. Please use designated landing zone Alpha 7. The pie is fresh." Kalen reviewed the data for the 17th time. Their mission was to observe, unseen. They had been seen. Their goal was to remain unknown. They had been offered pie. Every protocol, every tenet of Lorvian logic, dictated a full and immediate withdrawal. All logic dictates we withdraw. Kalen announced to the bridge. His crystalline form pulsed with stressed light. Therefore, we will proceed to the surface. The illogical nature of our welcome suggests that attempting to flee would be counterproductive. Agreed, rumbled Elder Thax. When the path of reason leads to a wall, one must explore the unreasonable door. The shuttle descended through a calm, blue sky. Below, the sprawling plains of a human continent known as North America stretched out, a patchwork of green and gold. The Weaver reported that the knot of reality was tightening around them, but not with malice. It felt like a cozy blanket being pulled snug. They landed at the designated coordinates, a patch of cracked asphalt behind a small, isolated building. A flickering neon sign above the door read, "The Starlight Diner," with the S in Starlight buzzing erratically. The air smelled of ozone, dust, and fried protein. They entered. The interior was a symphony of human cliché. Red vinyl booths, a long formica countertop, and a checkerboard floor. The air was thick with the scent of old coffee and lingering grease. The place was entirely empty, save for a single human in a slightly stained white apron, calmly wiping down the counter. He looked up as the four alien beings entered. His expression was one of mild welcome, as if a silicon life form, a psionic entity, and a hyperactive drone were his usual clientele. "Table for four?" the human asked, his voice pleasant. He gestured with his rag toward a booth in the corner. "Don't worry about the cloaking, it messes with the jukebox." The four members of the inquiry sat in the worn vinyl booth, the absurdity of their situation a palpable force. The custodian approached with a pot of coffee, filling four thick ceramic mugs. Kalen, having no mouth, politely declined, but the human filled a mug for him anyway. "It's for the ambience," he said with a wink. Glitch extended a small probe and analyzed the liquid. "Fascinating. The molecular structure is simultaneously that of a perfectly brewed artisanal blend and a burnt, week-old sludge. It exists in a quantum superposition of delicious and terrible. Best coffee in the sector," the custodian said proudly, taking a seat opposite them. "Now, I imagine you have questions. About the warnings. About what we're guarding." Kalen's internal resonance hummed. "Your planet is the nexus of a galactic conspiracy spanning millennia. We are here to understand why." "Conspiracy's a strong word," the custodian chuckled. "It's more like necessary maintenance. See, you think of reality as this one big, orderly thing. It's not. It's a whole stack of realities, all piled up like pancakes at a breakfast buffet. And sometimes," he leaned in conspiratorially, "the syrup from one pancake leaks onto another." He continued, "This whole solar system, Earth in particular, is what you might call a cosmic sump. It's where the leaks from other realities collect. All that chaos, all those paradoxes, all that raw, unfiltered possibility has to go somewhere. It goes here. And humanity?" Kalen asked, the question a tremor of disbelief. "We're the filter. Or maybe the septic tank," the custodian grinned. "Your advanced civilizations build things that make sense, that follow the rules. Humans? We see the rules, and we invent a new game. Our art is illogical. Our politics are a mess of contradictions. Our science constantly discovers things it can't explain. We are a species that thrives on things not making sense. We are, unconsciously, a massive engine for processing and normalizing paradox." The feline creature on the keyboard, Glitch, buzzed. Its viral spread across your early networks. "The quantum uncertainty of the melody." "Exactly," the custodian beamed. "Cat videos are excellent quantum stabilizers. Turns out a creature that can be both asleep and awake at the same time is perfect for smoothing over minor reality fractures. Your reality television shows? They absorb excess narrative potential that would otherwise cause historical events to spontaneously occur. Your internet is the most advanced chaos containment field ever devised." The Weaver's shimmering form pulsed gently. "The knot is not a prison. It is an anchor, holding the tapestry of this reality steady against the storm outside." "Couldn't have said it better myself," the custodian nodded. "But who manages this system?" Kalen pressed, his need for order demanding an answer. "Who is the architect of this beautiful, illogical mess?" The custodian's smile became something ancient and vast. His form flickered for a moment, and the diner around them seemed to shimmer, its mundane reality briefly revealing an underlying structure of infinite, interlocking light. "You're looking at him," he said, his folksy accent suddenly imbued with the weight of eons. "I'm not a man, not really. I'm the localized consciousness of this whole reality anchoring shebang. The field itself. The custodian is just the job title. It's easier to talk to you like this. Less screaming. A cold dread, more profound than any fear of a physical monster, settled over Kalen. Then the worst thing, what is it? The custodian's expression turned solemn. Perfect order. Absolute, total, complete sense. A universe where every question has an answer, every equation is balanced, every event is predictable. A universe that has run out of possibilities." He gestured with his coffee cup. "That's what happened to the Silent Empire. They were brilliant. They figured it all out, saw the chaos we process, and decided to fix it. They perfected themselves, eliminated every paradox, every uncertainty. And in doing so, they achieved a state of perfect, absolute, unwavering nothing. They perfected themselves right into non-existence. That's the worst thing we're guarding against. The heat death of the universe brought on not by entropy, but by boredom." The four aliens sat in stunned silence, the smell of paradoxical coffee hanging in the air. The truth of the cosmos wasn't a grand equation or a divine plan. It was a precarious, beautiful mess, held together by a species that considered cat memes to be high art. The custodian refilled his own mug from the perpetually full pot. "So, there it is," he said, his tone gentle. "You can go back. You can file your perfectly logical, disastrously accurate report. The finest minds in the galaxy will come here to help, and they'll pave the road to non-existence with good intentions." Or, he gestured around the slightly sticky diner. "You can join the management team. The pay is non-existent. The hours are confusing, and the benefits package mostly involves minor existential crises. But the coffee is memorable." The Weaver, Glitch, and Elder Thax all turned their respective sensory organs toward Kalen. It was his decision. He was the archivist, the being of pure, crystalline order. His entire existence was a refutation of everything the custodian had said. He looked at the perfect, ordered data of the dead civilizations in his mind, then at the chaotic, vibrant, illogical reality of the diner. The supreme logic, he finally realized, was the logic that allowed for existence itself. "We accept the consultancy position," Kalen chimed, the words feeling strange yet correct. "A system that preserves existence, however chaotically, is the most orderly system of all." The custodian beamed, a smile that seemed to momentarily warm the coffee. "Excellent. First order of business, you need to file a report. Something that tells everyone to back off, without explaining why. It needs to be confusing, slightly alarming, but ultimately reassuring." Glitch's optical sensor lit up. "Suggestion: we communicate in the native language of this reality's chaos containment field." And so, their first official act as the newest members of Earth's maintenance crew was not to file a formal report with the Committee for Existential Threats, but to create a new account on the Galactic Central Network under the handle @CosmicJanitors. The team collaborated on the message, a perfect fusion of their unique perspectives. An hour later, a single post was launched into the Galactic Archives, where it immediately began trending. Earth. Status: it's complicated. Threat assessment: mostly harmless, unless you're a fan of absolute existential certainty. They are guarding something worse. A universe that makes perfect sense. Do not interfere. We're staying on as consultants. #chaos is a good thing. #the diner is open. #send more memes. Attached to the post was a short, looping video file. It showed Glitch attempting to toast a waffle in the diner's kitchen. Just as it turned golden brown, the waffle folded in on itself, becoming a perfect, four-dimensional Klein bottle before the toaster gently dinged. The video had no explanation. It needed none. Their new mission had begun.